Today we have with us Judge Alan K. Silberstein. He is President Judge Emeritus of the Municipal Court of Philadelphia. Judge, thank you so much for participating in this project.
Thank you.
Designed to preserve the rich history of the Municipal Court of Philadelphia. Now, you were the first President Judge Emeritus, is that correct?
I was the first President Judge Emeritus, but I wasn't the first President Judge.
That was Judge Glancy.
Judge Glancy, he basically started the court in 1969.
Right. So before we get to that, and we'll discuss that in more detail, let's go back to your beginnings. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, and went to Lady Elementary School, Beaver Junior High School, and then on to Central High School.
Okay. Tell us about your parents and your siblings.
Well, I have no siblings, so that's the short answer. As far as my parents were concerned, they were of modest means. My father was in the poultry business, and I helped him out in the store. And unfortunately, at a young age of 42, he had a severe heart attack, which forced me into having to take care of the business. And I took care of any possible extracurricular activities in school because I could go to the store after school. And I had a pretty rough time of it.
So, what grade were you in school when you began to work full-time at the poultry business?
I was at Central High School. I was about, I think, the 10th grade.
Okay.
And of course, it affected the studies to some extent also, but it did what we had to do.
All right. And upon graduating from Central High School, you went to Temple University?
That's correct.
And same thing, you weren't able to participate in extracurricular activities because
I was still taking care of the father of the business, basically.
Okay. And how long did you do that?
Well, I did it all through school, and until such time as he had to give it up, and I was going to law school. When I graduated law school, we had to stop the working at the poultry store, obviously, and my father gave it up, and I went on to practice law.
So you go to Temple Law School. Were you still working in the poultry business?
Yes.
And okay. And when you graduated from Temple Law School and you passed the bar, how did you begin your legal career?
Okay. Now, when I went to law school, as far as working, the store wasn't that far from Temple. Temple was at Broad and Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
My father's poultry store was at 21st and Ridge Avenue.
Oh, wow.
So it was sort of convenient that way. When I started practicing law, I went into practice with David N. Feldman, who was a single practitioner, and I worked there with him for this total sum of $25 a week, plus 50% of my own business. That was the deal.
All right.
And that's how I started.
And how long were you in that practice, the private practice?
I was with him until I believe it was 1971, when I got a position with the Regional Counsel for the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
And what sort of cases did you handle when you were with Mr. Feldman?
Well, with Mr. Feldman, we handled personal injuries, estates, general practice.
Okay.
When I left there, I went to PennDOT. We dealt with eminent domain cases. We had land taken by government for public purposes, and the values of those properties.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity to try cases before the Board of View and jury trials.
So, how long were you with Mr. Feldman?
I was with Mr. Feldman from 1964, I would say, until 1971.
Okay, and then you go with PennDOT.
Then PennDOT from 71 until the end of 75, when I won my municipal court position.
Well, tell us about your time with PennDOT. You were what, an assistant attorney general?
I was the assistant attorney general, and later on I became the head of the office.
Okay.
In charge of, there were about 7 attorneys there. We had 7 counties that we handled.
And were you still based in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay.
State office building.
And you traveled to these various counties where...
Well, I had Philadelphia, so I didn't have to travel. I could just walk there. But the attorneys that were, like Presenza was there. He had, I believe, Chester County.
That's a Judge Presenza,
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
President Judge Emeritus.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
He sort of followed me. I followed Lance. He followed me.
Right.
And that was interesting work.
I can imagine. So then you're elected to the Municipal Court of Philadelphia.
In November of '75, I got elected to the Municipal Court of Philadelphia and started there in January of '76.
Okay, and tell us about your judicial career.
Well, from '76 to '86, I was one of 22 judges that handled cases in municipal court. We moved the police administration building. We did arraignments there. We did criminal cases. We did civil cases up to, at that time, it was up to $5,000. And we just, every week you were assigned a different position.
One of the things that has come through with these interviews is that all of the judges that we've talked to talk about the municipal court judges as being like a family, that they became very close and learned about their life outside of the courtroom when they had attended conferences and had seminars.
Well, the esprit de court was good when I joined the court, yeah. I would say that's true. I don't know if it's true today, but it was true then.
Okay. And after a while, you become president judge.
Judge Blancy had to resign, and I became acting president judge because the intent was he was going to come back after he cleared up a certain situation that unfortunately existed. I was acting president judge from 1986 until 1988. In 1988, Judge Blancy resigned from the court permanently, and we had an election, and I was elected in the president judge for a term of 5 years.
Okay.
That went from 88 to 93, and then I was re-elected another term in 93 that went to 99, and that's where I was until 99. After that, I was retired from the judgeship in 2007.
Okay.
So I was a judge for like about 32 years.
Now, how did your duties change when you went from being a municipal court judge to the president judge?
Well, it changed dramatically because the president judge is responsible for the assignment, the structuring of the court, what's going to, case we want to hear, what case we're not going to hear, and it was more or less administrative position. I did hear cases also, but not like every day.
Right.
So it was more administrative, budgetary matters, things of that nature.
Now, during this time, your 30 years on the bench, you also were very active in your community.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I found I had been a committeeman before I became a judge, and I found a lot of people had problems with mental health. And one case in particular that I can think of that sort of pushed me toward wanting to help people in that regard. And at that time, to get in the Northeast Community Mental Health Center, you had to run for election. It was a community involvement. So I ran and won, and I was on the Northeast Community Mental Health Center board, and I was president there for about 25 years until a couple of years ago when I told I just can't do it anymore.
Okay.
Because of health issues.
But this was in addition to your duties as the president judge?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were on the board. I mean, we weren't running a day-to-day activity. We had a staff there. So We did it one thing, we did not interfere with the other.
Okay. But in addition to that, you had other community involvements.
Well, let's go off the record.
We're good.
Okay.
You're the guy. You were in the Army Reserves.
That's true.
Okay. You a member of the American Trial Lawyers Association.
They were just memberships, right?
Okay. Philadelphia and Pennsylvania Bar Association.
Right, just memberships.
American Arbitration Association.
Right.
B'nai B'rith Justice Lodge. And during this time, you also found time to co-author a book on appraisals required under the divorce code.
As a thank you, they made me an honorary member.
Okay. Now, what we've tried to do with these interviews is to get judges not to be so modest and to talk about themselves, but you are, just like your colleagues, we have to sort of pull some of this stuff out. You are a recipient of the John F. Kennedy Memorial Award.
I'm proud of that one.
Okay. The John Peter Zenger Award.
That's correct.
Which is the Distinguished Jurist Award. The Distinguished Service Award from the Bruce Nippon Association in recognition of work in the field of mental health.
Right.
Community Service Award awarded by the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council for significant contributions to the lives of Pennsylvanians with developmental disabilities.
That's correct.
Let's see, the Batani Community Service Award for significant volunteer contributions to the lives of Pennsylvanians with developmental disabilities. Big Sisters of Philadelphia Award, American Society of Appraisers, Tau Epsilon Rho Law Society, awarded this Distinguished Lecture Certificate in the Municipal Court Seminar Series, Certificate of Appreciation from the School District of Philadelphia for instructional support on their Bill of Rights program. And it goes on, the Chapel of Four Chaplains, Legion of Honor membership. So you've had quite a career.
The chaplain, four chaplains, everyone gets that.
As I said, modesty is defeating our purpose here. We want you to know all of these great things that you and your colleagues on the bench have done. What are you most proud of as your legacies on the municipal court?
If I had to name one thing, I'd probably say it's I restructured the court. When I became president judge, I divided the court into two sections. It's criminal and civil. Certain judges assigned to the criminal division, certain judges assigned to the civil division. And so I established committees so that all the judges could participate in developing the programs and all that we wanted to handle. And we did a lot of work. We handled about 200,000 cases, criminal and civil cases in municipal court. So it was a great honor to be there.
And how would you like future generations to remember your tenure on the municipal court?
Well, I'd like to remember in a sense that this court is structured to handle the average people's claims. People have somewhere to go to relieve themselves of any burdens they have as far as bringing an action against someone, which they couldn't do otherwise, at a reasonable cost. I just want a fairness, I guess, be fair to everybody.
Well, fairness is quite a legacy to have. If you were speaking to a group of new judges, what advice would you have for them?
I would say you're a judge, you be an umpire. Call them to just see them. Don't worry about what people are going to think of you do. You'll never get anything done accomplished. Just be fair to both sides, and have their chips fall, let them fall where they may.
That's certainly sound advice. As you look back over your career, do you think the law practice of law has changed today?
Oh, I think it's changed dramatically.
And how so?
Especially with the advertising.
Right.
You can't drive down I-95 without seeing 14 billboards for lawyers, one better than the next. And the same thing with the TV. We never had anything like that. It was illegal.
Right.
We couldn't advertise. I worked with the legislature to increase the jurisdiction to $10,000 and the criminal side to 7 years. I worked closely with the committee to develop the new criminal justice center that we got during my time as president judge. Another thing I'm proud of is I worked with the district attorney, I can't think of his name, and we developed legislation making restitution orders automatically become civil judgments against the defendant.
Was that Ron Castile?
No, it wasn't Ron Castile. It was someone in his office.
Oh, okay.
One who handles the legislature.
Okay.
If you mention the name, I would know it, but I can't think of his name. But it used to be the judge ordered restitution in a criminal case. The person still had to go on the civil side and sue for get the judgment.
Right.
This legislation automatically became a judgment if the order of restitution. I work with the Women Against Abuse at the Roundhouse to make it easier for them to bring actions against an alleged wife beater or even husband beater for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved in the creation of what they call the Eagles Court. Probably remember that.
Yes, I do.
Where Judge McCaffrey was assigned to that position. He made it quite a spectacle of that. We worked in conjunction with the President Judge of the Common Pleas Court to offer some municipal court judges to preside as Common Pleas Court judges when necessary. Another thing I did was, you probably remember the MOVE group.
Yes.
Well, I held them in contempt of court. We took an appeal, and at that time the appeals went to the Common Pleas Court in front of Judge Blake. And that was quite a spectacle. Ended up Judge Blake affirmed my contempt, held him in his own contempt, and never got the underlying case. So we developed legislation to make any contempt orders appealable now directly to the Superior Court, just like a Common Pleas Court.
Okay.
Restitution, a contempt order, appeals from that goes to the Superior Court.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Municipal Court, the same thing happens now. I ordered and had arranged for metal detectors to be outside the courtrooms. And we've got photographs here of the kind of weapons that we confiscated as a result of that. I participated in the program for local high school students for courtroom visits. We established certain diversionary programs such as mediation program, ARD, things of that nature. That all came about during my administration. We did a recycling program, and when the Supreme Court came in for budget cuts, there was numerous newspaper articles about that I cooperated with them and arranged for the budget cuts to be able to do that without any interruption of the court business.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things that I'm proud of, that I want to be remembered by.
Well, that's certainly a tremendous legacy. Now, during your tenure, I know your father certainly would have been one of your mentors, but were there other mentors that assisted you in your legal practice or once you became a judge?
Well, I don't know if you can say mentors, but there are a couple of people that stood out and stand out in my mind. One in law school, Professor Israel Packle.
Mm-hmm.
He was terrific. He taught conflict of laws, and I really looked up to him. I thought he was the best law school professor I've ever had. But he had an influence on me to a great extent. And I guess the other was Judge Clancy, who I guess sort of handpicked me and backed me for the president judge when he couldn't be there.
Right.
And those two people, I'd say, had an influence on me.
Well, Judge, we want to thank you so much for participating in this program. It's really very important that we preserve this history and the fabulous things that you and your fellow colleagues on the bench have done as members of the Municipal Court of Philadelphia.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.